Good evening.
Hey, Roger.
Still good and windy out there,
Very windy out here
huh? Windy.
and feeling colder.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm just gonna go turn the heat up. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Oh. I know, we're gonna have a meeting. Oh, boy. You can hear the heat coming up.
Hello.
Hello.
Volume up here.
All right, ready? All right. Let's see. We're getting the crew together today. You want that? We take that. Okay.
Brad will not be joining us tonight. He is taken ill.
Oh, okay.
And I am headed to the airport as soon as we're done, which I'm hoping is close to 8 o'clock.
Okay. We will be as efficient as possible.
2, 3.
1, 2, 3,
5.
4, 5. We could start our meeting. All right.
Well, it's not 7 o'clock.
It's at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm looking.
Okay, all right. It's almost 7 o'clock. Yeah, hi.
Hello. What time is your flight, Penny?
My flight is tomorrow morning. They close the doors of the plane at 5:45 a.m.
Mine's at 7.
Are you flying out of Bradley?
Yes.
Well, I guess I'll just miss you.
Mm-hmm. So maybe not. According to my husband, we're leaving here at 3:30.
Oh,
I've
God.
heard that Bradley is rather packed lately.
Really?
Yes, and it can take 2 hours in the morning.
I have never experienced that there.
No, neither have I, but the last 2 friends I've had flying out have said it took 2 hours to get through TSA.
Even with pre-check?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. Well,
This is the airport in Hartford?
Yes.
I
yeah,
didn't think it was that big.
no,
It's the morning.
Wow.
Bigger than it used to be too.
but still, I'm so shocked. I'm glad you said
Yeah.
that. I guess I'll get there even earlier. But not
All right.
early.
It is
Well-
now 7 o'clock and we have a quorum. So
Okay,
let us begin. Let's see, let's review and vote on the meeting minutes
Oh,
of February 27th. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the 27th.
And that's
I'll
Jeff.
second it. That's Mary Ann.
Mary Ann?
seconding.
Any changes or corrections? Or additions?
I received corrections from Stephen and from you, Elaine, and I made all of those.
Yes, I saw that. Okay. Any others? All right, hearing none, roll call vote. Antonellis? Where'd you go? Nope, you're on.
Antonellis, aye. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm just gonna go put the dog away.
Okay. Let's see. Wow, we're missing Stephen, Brad, and Dale. Penny, you're next.
I,
Molly
I'll abstain. I wasn't there.
and Jeff.
Aye.
Paleo, aye. So let's see, we have 1, 2,
is that only
Three, four.
4?
4 ayes, yes.
We don't have a quorum. Is that a
Two.
problem for something like this?
I can change my vote. I mean, I think we just need a quorum for the meeting, not to
We
approve.
just need a quorum for the
Mhm.
meeting and a majority for the
Okay,
for
great.
voting. Okay. Oh, I guess I didn't do a public comment at 7, but there was no one here for public comment. If someone comes, I will listen to them. Okay, we have an update on the design drawings. Dominic, take it away.
Thanks, Elaine. How's everybody doing?
Oh, hopefully this windstorm will not knock out our power tonight.
Nice. I'll try and be expedient then. All right, I think I've had sharing. Great. Excellent. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Nice. So just moving ahead, we are obviously heading towards the 75% CD pricing estimate at the end of the week. So there's a lot of work going on in the background. What I want to present to you today is a few things that have been in discussion recently. Quickly touching on restroom finishes, because we'd like to strategize our pricing estimate, our cost estimate for the 75% to incorporate a couple of versions of how we finish the lobby space. So I'll quickly touch on that. Give an update on the new restroom layout. Quickly touch on the mechanical condensing units that we have laid out at the south end of the building. Quickly touch on electric vehicle charging, and then some millwork updates. So moving right ahead, here we see 2 plans. I put the flooring choices before the restroom. So what we're looking at here is the revised layouts for the additional restroom, storage, and water service room. We can go into detail about this in the next couple of slides, but just specific to floor finishes. What we'd like to do is hold 2 different versions of how we finish the floor in these areas. So above in pink is, so for 2 pricing versions, alternates, one would be tile only, that's represented here in pink. And then the second option would be resilient flooring shown in green here, and then epoxy in blue. So again, for the tile, that would cover all of the lobby, reception, browsing, circulation desk, and then the 3 restrooms. And for the resilient flooring, we don't think it's appropriate that that be the finish for the restrooms. It is feasible to do resilient flooring if you can get a large enough sheet and not need to incorporate seams, but we don't think that's feasible. So we would propose to use epoxy flooring in the restroom. Again, you know, prior conversations about retroplate flooring, we are not considering anymore because of cracking is something that we can't really control. And then lastly, with regards to tile, we want to be as, you know, cost effective as we can. So we're going to specify a tile that is smaller format, so that it can be installed in thin set, which, you know, is a cheaper installation. Marianne, I saw your hand up first, and then
Okay. What is epoxy?
so epoxy is a fluid applied material that sets hard. Actually, funnily enough, I have samples in front of me right here. So it's a very hard wearing surface, and you can, you know, it's there are different products out there. we like the Duraflex is a very good company. It's hard wearing, smooth, and you know, appropriate for these restrooms. So I can get you a cut sheet and more explanation on that,
Is
Marianne.
your audio connected?
Elaine?
So 2 questions. With that epoxy flooring, does it have seams in it, or is it just one?
No, so it's liquid applied,
Okay,
and so it's seamless, and you can also incorporate a base condition.
and then my second question would be then, could we combine the resilient flooring in the lobby, reception area, and circulation desk and tile in the restrooms?
Yes, we could. So that's correct. So for instance, this plan on the lower portion here,
Mhm.
if the green is resilient, then the blue were to be tile, we could do that as well.
Okay,
So what I might do if there's interest there as well, is we do a couple of scenarios, breaking out the restrooms with 2 floor finishes, epoxy and tile, and then the lobby reception browsing with 2 finishes, resilient or tile. And that way we kind of really get apples to apples on
Okay.
all of the options that we might have.
great, thank you.
Yep. Jeff. Oh,
You're-
sorry, you're on mute.
Does the epoxy span any floor cracks that could develop in the concrete?
Yes, it does. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We've used it on a few projects. Yeah, it's a nice solution. What I'd like to understand really is cost, because I think my preference would be tile, but if it's more cost effective to go epoxy in these small areas, then we do that. And I think is, you know, a nice solution for those rooms. To note, if we find that tile is too expensive to use on the job, we would commonly use tile on the wet wall. So the wet wall is where the restroom fixtures are mounted onto the wall. So where the plumbing chase is. Let me get my zoom happening here. And so if we have tile, what we would like to do is finish the lower portion of the wet walls of these restrooms with tile as well. So down to an elevation of about 4 feet. So you wouldn't go full height. And that's a nice finish for, you know, a wet condition in these 3 rooms. If we don't go with tile, then I think I've mentioned before, we can go with a high grade spec paint that's washable and cleanable. You know, over a long period of time, I would say you need to repaint that, you know, obviously a few times considering the lifespan of tile. I would not recommend bringing the epoxy all the way up. I've never finished a room in that way. I can look into see if that's an option. I don't know that it is. It is the epoxy you can use as a floor base, so a base condition for about 4 inches. So I want to kind of incorporate that as well. That if we do tile the restrooms, my sense is that we tile the wet walls as well. So 4 feet portion of just one of the walls in each of these rooms. Penny?
Yeah, I'm just curious what this product looks like. I'm not familiar with it, and
Sure, the epoxy?
describe what the surface looks like.
Yeah, so the product that we have specified before and found great results, it's called Duraflex, and I will happily share some information along with these slides so that you can look at that. Sorry, I don't have it for this presentation. I do have a sample piece in front of me, and this camera is doing kind of a, if I just stop playing with it, you can kind of see it has a speckled consistency to it. It's an epoxy liquid applied product. Has a sheen to it. You know, very hard wearing and washable.
Thank you.
Yep. So that was our strategy for 75%. I believe the last time that we met as a committee, there was the thought that we might need to vote on a finish material for these spaces, and I think we can wait for the pricing to come back, and this will be a simple decision that we can incorporate even late in the game before the 100%. So I have no issue with making that decision, you know, very much at the end before we submit for CDs for the 100%. So that was it for flooring. I'm happy to move on if there's no other questions. So moving on to the restroom addition. So again, per code, we now need an additional restroom. But in this configuration and for this project, it does not need to be ADA accessible. So because it is considered in the grouping and clustered in this portion of the building, and it is close enough to two restrooms that is accessible. So all three can be allocated as gender neutral. This new restroom meets all the space requirements for restroom fixtures, and yet is as small as it can be for, you know, comfortable use. I have actually grown this room a little bit just for a little bit more clearance in this space, just so that it's not, as I promised before, it is not going to be the smallest restroom you've ever experienced. So I wanted it to feel comfortable, and we have the space for this. So there were many iterations as to how these three rooms laid out. We were investigating whether we could get access. Primarily, we were investigating how we could get access directly into a space here. If the water service room was to hold this space, but we just couldn't get the pull clearances to work that we needed on this wall. We were investigating smaller doors, which were appropriate for the water service room, but not for ADA. And then, you know, that combined with pull distances, that clearance distances that we needed on the wall, it just didn't work no matter how we kind of twisted and turned this glazed wall. So we had to move away from that strategy. And then we were looking at the most efficient way to get into the water service room from the staff workroom. So we've looked at aligning the two doors. We would have a pocket door here for the storage room. We felt that the storage room was would get more use than the water service room, and therefore should be, you know, the first accessible from the staff workroom. And then the water service room would also, you know, be nested in behind there. There's many factors still as to how we resulted on this. In this choice, we have exhaust air that is ducting through a louver on this wall, and it was previously in the project in the previous scheme. That has duct work and plenum assembly that is a little lower than what we would like for the storage room. So again, we wanted to maximize the height in the storage room and, you know, in the walls to be able to house shelving for maximum storage here. So we're really combining mechanical ductwork in the water service room with all the equipment. This water service room has the pump chambers that we need, and booster pumps and any potential for water treatment, including PFAS, pH, or radon. It has a water heater that is mounted up high, so it's giving us additional clearance. In the 75% pricing estimate, you'll be able to see exactly how this is laid out. but our plumbing engineer is confident that no matter what we get from the digging of the well, once we get the testing of the well, that this water service room will work if we can meet 0.75 gallons per minute. There's an additional change where the toilets for this project need to have a water reservoir. So then they used to be tankless, but they now need tanks, water tanks, because at 0.75 gallons a minute, they wouldn't, the water wouldn't serve their use. So those tanks are going to be recessed within the wall cavity. So a lot of coordination to make this work, this water service room. What we're hoping for, if the well tests come back positive, we can reconfigure this room and hand over some of that square footage to storage. So currently, I'm not showing shelving in this storage room at this location. Marianne and I have been coordinating on how we use this space. Potentially we can have trash storage here. Depending on the needs for the library, there's some flexibility there. On this wall, we would have the panels for the mechanical controls, the fire alarm, and we would also have telecom come into this room as well. So a small reduction in square footage for storage room and linear foot of shelving. We can continue to tweak that a little bit, I believe, but generally we meet the requirements for the building in all the services here. Also to note, Marianne, I've been able to placeholder 2 foot deep, 24-inch deep cabinets here. So that would give you ample storage here. I know that we were, in many configurations, we were concerned we couldn't fit that in this space. Lastly, before I take your question, Marianne, I just want to clarify that we did reduce the size of the staff workroom by moving this glazed condition further in. So we do meet ADA requirements for clearances in this room. Your storage and work use space is still as it was before. You've just lost a little bit of floor area. And in doing so, you've opened up the printer area a little bit and given yourself a little bit more breathing room behind the circulation desk, which I think was much needed. So I think that was a benefit to this revision as well. A lot of information there. Apologies. Marianne.
So I think the telecom, so is that where the, like the internet comes into the building?
Yes.
So I think that should be in the storage room off the staff workroom.
It will be. It's coming into this.
Sorry, I mean, off the community meeting room.
Oh, I see. So this
Yeah.
storage room.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I'll send you dimensions. I'll measure the panel that we have these little devices. It's called an ONT. That's only 4 by 4. But then so what our IT guy is going to be sending me a plan, and then I'll send you that plan, and then we can decide where all those things go. But that's not really going to affect the pricing.
It will, because I think we're going to be more efficient in our duct run.
Okay.
So
all right.
I think it'll be more efficient if we run straight to the storage room here, because prior to this, we were running ducts out this way. I felt like centralizing everything in the storage room in somewhat of a server condition, right? That storage room I thought was appropriate, but running everything here might actually be better. So that's great. Yeah.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sorry. And sorry, I'm not showing my face. I just got back from PT, so no one wants to see my face. So I just have a question about that, because Marianne, do you plan to have your AV in this storage room that's off of the meeting room? Because then if you have outside presenters, they may need to access that. And do you want your server equipment and your computer stuff in a space where the public can access it, or is there a way that you can lock that off? That would be my concern.
Yeah, it's a good question, Andrea. We are not, for this project, we have not yet defined a centralized computer as a server hub per se. The AV is still being coordinated, specifically for the meeting room. And so we're just coordinating information on the needs for this space and how that's going to be housed, whether it would live in the lectern or in the storage room. So, audio, AV for the meeting room, where we would prefer to have it out in the room, I think, for the presenter to have direct access to kind of those controls at the lectern. Yeah, so no centralized computer related to HVAC controls, although you will have online access, but not to, or you will have the potential depending on how you fit out the HVAC. It's definitely going to be ready for internet access if you want to be able to control the building remotely, but it won't have a computer station.
So you're only talking about the kind of the building management system. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. So you don't have a centralized station for that. That would be compromised. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Penny, actually, I just realized I had these blow-ups here. It's a bit easier. Yes, Penny.
There's no way to access water services through the third restroom. You looked at that?
Yeah, because of pool clearances. Currently, we have an outswinging door just to meet, just as a worst case scenario, for however the well dig goes or the test results. I'd like to invert this once we're kind of in a safer, when we have more information. And there is potential to change things around a little bit. I do know that we have duct work that's coming fairly low here. And so entry into this space is a little bit constricted because of that. What we're doing is strategizing the water services equipment underneath that duct work. So we're kind of sharing clearance spaces of things. So it is a strategic layout in water services that doesn't really allow for the entry door through the restroom at the moment. Yeah. Heather?
Just thinking about that door and the challenge of swing outer in, is there a reason that could not also be a pocket door? I don't know if there's a code thing with
Yeah,
water
it's a good
services.
question. I will definitely run that past my engineers and see if that is a potential. That would, my sense is that the water service room will only be used by janitorial staff and the very low use of maintenance. We do have some storage capability built in as well, so we could at least get a 3-foot wide shelving rack here. So cleaning agents, all sorts of things. So janitorial storage capabilities here, which is excellent too. But I think this outswing door, when it is in use, is a little bit awkward for the storage room itself. But I don't see this as a high traffic condition. And so, any time that a mop were to be emptied here would be, not very often. I agree it is a little bit awkward, but we'll continue to coordinate how this space is used, Marianne, especially with, there's potential here for shelving if we were to move trash somewhere else. So there is some flexibility. But to your point, Heather, I will see if this can be a pocket door. All of this was possible because the roof footprint has been manipulated such that this added square footage to the building still has the roof footprint at 4,998 or 9. It's really right on the button. We do have a bit of flexibility in how this upturned roof, how much it projects. So that there's, I can play with that a little bit on our comfort factor, but I've pushed it to the edge to make this work. I do have renderings for you just to get a sense of the roof eave without rafter tails now. It was 15-inch overhang. It's now 8-inch. And I've got some roof gutter and roof kind of information for you later as well. So that's really everything that as it relates to how this all laid out in the end. So I'm happy to move on if there's no other questions. Before I do go to the renderings are going to show some views of the back of the building, the south elevation. This is an old planting plan. Our landscape architects are still working on updates here, but I just wanted to highlight here, initially we had an exit door out of the meeting room. That is not there anymore. We have now been able to house all our mechanical equipment, the condensing units in this zone with a planting bed in front. So I just wanted to bring that up before I go to the renderings, so that you can see our strategy now to have the condensing units, mechanical equipment on a concrete pad that's exterior to the south elevation, 5 foot by 20 feet. The refrigerant lines are going to enter the building through the exterior wall at the water table. They're then going to elbow up into a furred out wall condition and then enter the electrical room at the roof. By code, these need to be 14.6 above the electrical room floor. So they're going to enter into the electrical room up high and then serve the mechanical equipment throughout the building. So this was our VE strategy, so that we wouldn't incorporate a duct bank, below grade duct bank, to get these refrigerant lines into the building. It also means these refrigerant lines are coming into the building down low and are not going to implicate the slate siding at all. So it's the most efficient way to get them into the building. So with that, there's a couple of views. Initially, this is a little bit more schematic as we're in a push to get documents together, but it gives you a sense of the new roof with the upturned roof, with the reduced eave overhang. So not a large variation in concept to what we had initially. There's not going to be any gutters here. We've consulted with Garland and our civil engineers about how the drip strip, the gravel drip strip and rainwater running off this roof will work. And we have every confidence that that's going to work the way we're designing it, so that rainwater will sheet off and collect in the gravel bed beneath it. That gravel bed is going to finish at the perimeter of the building at these locations where water is sheeting off. There may be instances where there's a light rain and the wind is going to blow some of that water back on the slate. It's something that we're not concerned about. We're worried about high volume water, what is going to happen to it. And in those instances, it's going to be caught in this gravel drip strip. This upturned roof has I'm blanking on the term now. The roof is basically going to divert the water to either side, and be caught in gutters and cricketing. Thank you very much. This upturned roof is going to be cricketed so that any water that lands on it is going to be directed left and right and caught in these downspouts that we have. This is all going to be specified by Garland. So we've got all that documentation. Regarding the upturned roof, I don't have any new information for you, but we do have SGH under contract and they're reviewing our drawings right now. So unfortunately, nothing new to present. It was tough to get them onto this project at late notice, but we now have a third party reviewing how we're detailing this, and they're going to basically comment and make sure we have it as buttoned up as is possible. So I will share that information with you at the next meeting once we get that. So that is the northeast view. Not much has changed other than that to this view. This is the northwest view, looking back at the children's north elevation and the adult's notch. Again, the roof overhang is 8 inches here. We will have a gutter spanning this staff workroom lower roof with a downspout. And then we've got another view where we have a gutter that's catching all the water for the lobby exit and the meeting room exit. We're going to have a rain diverter over this portion here, this notch. So that's going to help direct water to sheet off on this side and this side here. So now the south elevation, again, this is a very high level, but we've represented the equipment true to size. This is about 6 foot. The very top is around 6'6" or so. So these lower units, obviously, the refrigerant lines are going to run behind them and enter the building somewhat behind this unit right here. One thing that we're still working on is all the metering and the roll-up generator hookup. There's equipment, wall-mounted panels that are going to be mounted on this location here. No gutter here, and again, this upturned roof here will capture the water that's being directed from the cricketing there. We did discuss screening this mechanical equipment, but just for where the project is at, we felt that simple planting was the most economical and appropriate way to somewhat screen these elements. And in due course, this could be handled differently with lattice and other kind of screening potential. The last view here again is showing the same equipment. We have a gutter here spanning this full length because we wanted to protect the exit door to the meeting room and the lobby exit doors as well. And again, we have the gutter here at the staff workroom. What is not shown here is the louver that I had mentioned before. This is going to exhaust air for the mechanical system. So this is our exhaust area, and we have an intake air louver that's going to be over the director's window here. Not currently shown. It is in our elevations. And then lastly, the roof plan, it's a little bit faded. I'll zoom in a little bit. So this is a roof plan. This is the upturned roof, cricketing to the downspouts. We have a metal rain diverter to carry the water away from this adult's exit door, the staff workroom gutter with a downspout, and then this gutter with 2 downspouts to serve that. That was it on some renderings and, you know, mechanical equipment and guttering. Also to note, we are going to include gutter box guards for leaf maintenance to just help you out and protect these gutters from leaves, help reduce maintenance on that. Moving on, I have a site plan. I just wanted to mention that we are currently holding 2 charging stations per code. The electrical code requires that you provide 10% of the parking lots to be charge ready. So we're not going to install the charging unit, but we will provide the conduit and infrastructure for that. So we are currently holding these 2 spaces. We did not slip it all the way over because a potential charging unit here is going to incur on the clearance requirements for this transformer pad. This transformer pad has moved over slightly, so it has full adjacency to the asphalt, to the parking lot. It has stringent clearance requirements and adjacency requirements, so we've shifted the 2 across. Initially, we had them here, but we wanted to keep these 2 parking stalls available for patrons without electrical vehicles. There's no code requirement to give them priority location. There is a recommendation to make the charging station accessible, but it is not required. So, Marianne, we have also been discussing whether we do provide accessible a charging station so that we can potentially go for there's a charging station payment from the government, right?
Right.
And
It's
we
a grant
feel
from DEP.
that's right. So
Yeah.
to meet that grant, it sounds like they will provide full funding for your charging for any charging you have on your project. And
But
to
you
meet
have to have one, at least one has to be handicapped accessible.
correct. And so if we're to go for that grant, we feel that we need to locate an additional charging station over here. So it would mean coordinating this curb cut a little bit. We can put one of the charging stations, you know, orientated to one side, and then we would meet that requirement. There'd be, you know, slight inefficiency in running conduit to one and then the other, but I figure if the grant provides
They're going to
funding
pay for
that,
it.
right, that would be good. We have to meet the accessibility requirement for a charging station. You do need this clearance zone next to one vehicular parking stall, and that's something that we just can't get into this scheme with the transformer pad where it is. You know, we were considering making one of these handicap, but we're so constrained here to make the different types of parking work that we feel the potential is to just split them, to have one here and one here. So
But does that mean that we're giving up one of our non-EV handicap parking spaces?
so to meet the electrical code, this one over here will not meet that requirement. So having one charging station to serve the 2 handicap stalls will not meet that requirement. And but to meet the electrical code requirement, it doesn't have to be accessible.
No,
But
what I meant was if we use the handicap accessible right there, if we use that with a charging station, does that, I guess I'm concerned that we're losing one of our non-EV handicap spaces. Because we only had
We-
two.
Right, we would have to provide this as well. To meet the electrical code, we have to provide two. If we,
No, where you are with your cursor right now,
yep,
those were the two handicap accessible spots.
yes.
And so my question is, if we have the EV station there, does that mean that they are only EV handicapped accessible, or can they just be considered accessible without EV also?
I think they can do both.
Okay,
I don't think that locating a charging station would mean that they cannot be assigned.
non-EV.
Correct.
Okay, that
Yep.
was the question.
Yep, sorry.
I wasn't clear.
No, that was me, I think. So, so if the committee feels it's appropriate, we can coordinate to get another station here so that we can meet the grant and go ahead with that.
Um,
And the grant covers the full price of everything?
the grant covers, it doesn't cover making the spaces, but it covers the unit. I'll send it to everybody. I read through it all today and it covers a lot.
It covers most of,
100%
yeah.
of a lot of expenses related to these charging stations. What I'm not, so here's one thing about these charging stations. You're required to put up signage that says electric vehicles only.
Mhm.
And you are required to agree to police the parking for 3 years. So if somebody was parked there, say if the whole parking lot was full and somebody who didn't have an electric vehicle pulled into the EV spot, first of all, they'd be confronted with a sign that said they couldn't park there. And then the library director would have to go out and yell at them. So
Doesn't it get back to Elaine's question then?
It does. That's what I'm thinking too, Jeff. If a charging station is here and you restrict use of this handicap stall only for electrical vehicles, you're technically
You lock
restricting
it,
somebody who needs a handicap stall but doesn't have an electric car.
right?
And
then
my
how-
sense is that is constraining the use of that space, which
right.
I think goes back to your point, Elaine. You
Yep.
might be right. We have to dig
And are
into
we
that.
required to have 2 handicap spaces by code?
Yes. Yeah.
So we're required to have two, and if this is a competitive grant. So competitive, it's a first come, first serve. As when the money runs out, it's out. So the question is, can we have one EV handicap space and find a place for a second handicap accessible space?
Mm-hmm.
Where?
That's the tough.
Mm-hmm.
That's the tough portion. I'm, looking at this rectangle, which we need.
What is that line that you're tracing right there?
This line,
Yes.
a garden bed. So it is a way of resolving the change in orientation of the 2 parking stalls. And I'm not sure
Do we need a garden bed there?
the garden bed, not necessarily, but I believe that we need this space to allow for a space between the change in orientation of these vehicles, instead of, for instance, not sure if that,
And Dominic, do the handicap accessible parking spots have to be perpendicular like you have them shown there?
Yes. I'm not sure that they do. You're saying that what if they continue
Mm-hmm.
along the way we have here?
I mean, you might even
Well-
be able to get one more parking space in. Wouldn't that be sweet?
Right. My straight lines are amazing.
They look better than if I were drawing those straight lines.
I have such a big screen here. My mouse is on super sensitive. So, right. So that they just parade along like this.
Mhm. And you could get one more there. What is the bump out on the, yeah,
Another one
Something
in
like that.
Greg's Gardens.
My sense is
that makes me happier. I've been very concerned that 4 of the parking spaces are devoted to very specific, important, but very specific, needs.
yeah, I'd be interested to see. My sense is spatially, the way I've been interpreting the access for parking stalls, and I need to consult with civil engineers, obviously, but is that it's this clearance space between ADA 1 and ADA 2, right, that you need. And then my question will be, is this an appropriate change of orientation? This is a drop off. All right, so we'll see what we can do before the end of the week. So you're saying that it's not a given that we get the grant. So if we don't
No.
get the grant, then
We pay for,
yeah,
or we find other funding for it.
yep,
But as soon as we can have a plan and have a contractor and an estimate, the better.
mhm, yep,
Because we've filled out maybe a quarter of it, but what we really need is the contractor, the plan,
mhm,
and the cost estimate.
yep.
You mean the general contractor, Elaine, or
No, who is going to install the
so the vendor?
vendor.
Vendor,
Yes,
okay.
vendor, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, let me see if I have it up here in my,
Yeah.
The other thing looking at this, Penny, is that we need to include 2 sides because we cannot provide charging for these 2.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have to provide charging here, and we could get our charging station.
Andrea, you have a thought?
Actually, would be like
Well, I was
this.
just saying you need the access aisle on the passenger side, right? If you're doing
Yeah.
diagonal. So you can't have, so
That's
you
true.
have
You
to
can't
add
back-
in
You can't back
extra.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it's front in, you can back in, and that's okay. Yep. That won't work.
Hmm.
So you can see there, yeah, it's a tough one. This doesn't quite work here. We'll have a look at it and see what we can do for the 75%. And I was just thinking of an adult, but this is it's not something you can just put in and take out fairly easily as far as site plan is concerned.
I would think that let's go ahead and put the conduit to, say if we decide that, or if we apply for this grant, but they've already spent all the money, or something. Let's plan to put, the infrastructure near the handicap spots, because if we're doing it on our own after the fact, and we want to add one in one of the handicap accessible spots, it would be good to have it there.
Yeah,
So-
we'd still want it. I think we'd
Yeah.
still want it, and, like, I just looked at the application, and we need the vendor and the hardware information. And that's about all
Right.
before we can send this off.
But do you know the vendor until the contract for the building is signed?
Wouldn't we
Well,
know?
I think we can just use a state contract vendor that sells
Right.
it.
But that doesn't mess up all the stuff that Dominic is working on.
No. No.
Because you wouldn't have the charging station vendor under your auspices, would it, Dominic?
You're muted, Dominic.
Sorry, it would be under the GC for the job.
It would be.
Yeah. That's how we've done it in the past.
Mhm.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah,
Can you spec? Can you spec, Dominic?
yes. Yep.
Marianne, have you talked to, so Katie Snyder at the Leading by Example program for the state, they've had different vendors on for charging stations. She helps out with the charging for like DCAM and all the state assets. It might be worth giving her a call just to see what's out there, and what they're suggesting for DCAM and for, statewide barns and things, because a lot of them are moving over to electric fleets.
Okay,
Mhm.
I'll give her a call.
Okay, so let me know, Marianne, how things go with this.
Yeah,
I'm struggling to see how we can make it work with this plan
right,
or to meet the accessibility requirement. And it's all about that clearance between, that's the tough
right,
portion. So as soon as you have more information, we can own, if we own scope in the 75%, really the intent is not to pay for it with the project, right? Is to rely on the grant.
Mhm.
So
right, except for the conduit getting the power to it.
Right.
Right,
that the grant does not pay for?
right,
No, the grant
Got
just pays for the stations.
right.
Got it. Okay. Okay, so let's own scope so we understand what that is.
Yes,
Because I don't even know what the payoff would be for the grant will help. Right. And
Right.
we need it for code. But
Right.
I don't know if we can't go for the grant if we can't meet ADA.
right, right.
And we're struggling to lay out ADA.
Right,
But let's own scope for now and we can make that
Okay.
choice. Yeah.
yeah,
Great.
Okay. Okay, so that was the charging stations. Millwork, we've been, fine tuning. And so the circulation desk now is a single surface countertop. And previously we had shown a book drop that was integrated into the surface. So there was kind of a horizontal slot condition here. We have now revised that so that the book drop slot is actually made in the south portion of this millwork piece. And you can see here in the section Normally we create a book slot chute so that you just have to let go of the book and it drops in. The caveat here is that you would have to just manually push it through the slot and into the book cart. But this will work. And we think is a nice solution. Also, there was a question about the finish for this circulation desk. So we currently have maple boards, shiplap configuration, stood vertically as the main finish. The solid surface top is hard wearing and can be specified in any color, which we like. And so I've got some photos in the next slide where we did this at the Norwell Public Library. So this is a shiplap maple board that is stood vertically. You can see it here. But we are specifying white oak, which has a slightly more yellow finish, which we like, and we've used that as well. This info desk is finished in white oak, and I just wanted to show you the maple has, you know, is slightly desaturated on the kind of yellow hue, let's say, but we like white oak as well, and we're currently holding that for Shutesbury. It ties in with the Douglas fir nicely, which we're using for the mass timber portion of the structure. You know, the expression of boards we really like because it's tying in what we're doing on the roof. The roof decking is tongue and groove. And so you get this pairing of, and you know, that language, which we like. So I just wanted to, there was a question last time about that, so I just wanted to present that.
And when you say a solid surface for the counter, what do you mean?
So this is, it's a plastic like material. It's hard wearing solid surface counter that is incorporated into the framing, and it's beveled, so it has a smooth edge, and you have many different color choices. So it feels like a very smooth. It's a through body material, right? So it's not laminated. Laminated is a small veneer, whereas this is a solid plastic composite material. So you can chip at it, and it has a through color where you won't tell that there's a difference in color on the interior. It's a nice, smooth, tactile, hard-wearing surface. You can see here. Yep. It's our most common finish for these circulation desks. It's kind of stood the test of time, holds well, and it's tried and true in our office.
Okay.
So, and Dominic, are you saying you're speccing the maple or the oak for this?
White oak for this project. I'm happy to go to maple. The wood shelving, or I'm sorry, the metal shelving will be encased in maple ends and tops. That's kind of our normal standard finish for the wooden shelving. But the choice to specify white oak is so that the circulation desk has a little bit of its own, you know, it's set apart a little bit from the maple shelving. And it also ties into the mass timber.
Does one have a warmer tone than the other? Because I'd vote for the one with the.
I think the white oak does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go for the white
So the
oak.
white oak is on the left and the
Correct.
maple is on the right.
Mhm.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would say maple is a little more desaturated, right? So the
Yep.
kind of color, the yellow orange color of wood is not as apparent. The grain you still catch in both, right? So it's still a very nice way of expressing the wood. But our choice initially was to go with white oak for the circulation desk.
I agree.
I agree too.
It's very traditional New Englandy.
It's a great species. Yeah, it's beautiful. So I wanted to just offer that up. We also made some revisions to, as we were coordinating with Marianne on the use of the self-checkout station, we have now incorporated this printer station is set down lower to the self-checkout. So that the printer can be set down a little bit and not be as visibly imposing to the sight lines from the staff workroom to the spaces around. It also has base cabinet doors now so that printer material and paper can be stowed and be kind of a clean way to stow them away. And we've cleaned up where some of these outlets are. We have an outlet beneath the computer counter and two pop-up power outlets so that patrons don't need to feed their computer cords down through a grommet. They will have power at the counter. We do have a through counter grommet at the self-checkout because that'll be a one-time installation where we will have a Chromebook self-checkout interface here and the outlet will serve that. So tweaking the details. And lastly, the library of things. We've revised slightly. I believe this is the last iteration I think that everybody has seen here, but just to go over it quickly again in elevation, we have the browsing metal shelving niche here with sliding panel doors, kind of a low spec, but nice way to conceal storage in this niche above browsing. To the right is the library of things. We have two equidistant shelving units here with adjustable shelving. This is a fixed vertical and horizontal portion of this millwork, which divides storage from up and down. So the lower portion can house a telescope and cooktop, and above in the summer seasons can store the life jackets, and in the off season those rods can be pulled out and the shelving can be put back in for general storage. This right portion here is for paddles specifically, so it has its own width, but it also houses adjustable shelving. So when you don't need to store paddles, you can put the shelves back in. Full flexibility there. This section outlines the ability spatially for all of this to fit. Things were tweaked as we continued to coordinate that. And lastly, around the corner so this is a planned cut. So to the left here, we have browsing, library of things. And as you make the turn to go to the staff workroom and the circulation desk is to your right, we have holds here. And this is a small elevation for holds where we have adjustable shelves because we can't get metal shelving that's 21 inches wide. So this is treated similarly, adjustable height shelves, and then there's a storage cabinet above with a door. So additional storage. So again, trying to simplify with and simplify this millwork piece, but yet still be functional. Be interested to see what savings were realized at 75%. So that concludes what I have to show today. Schedule, nothing has changed. Again, we're aiming at the 75% at the end of this week, and then 100% will be April 19th. We heard back from Ngrid, just another kind of, as it comes to mind. We were consulting with our engineers today, and Ngrid got back to them to confirm, actually, do I have a mechanical, that we are tying into the pole at this location here. There were 2 poles that were potentially up for grabs, so glad to hear that we were able to tie into this one, so it's a more efficient way to run our duct bank. We're going to again price overhead wiring versus duct bank. We're now pushing on Ngrid. So initially they gave us the design for this, for the duct bank run. They are now working through the change order for overhead lines. So we're really pushing on them to have that in 3 weeks, so that when we get our cost estimate in 3 weeks' time, that we have that number, that we can get a proper, a good understanding of which way to go. Which would it be much cheaper to go overhead power lines?
Great.
And so that was Ngrid. Yeah, so everything's going well. Glad that we got through the additional restroom requirement, and the library is also presenting to Conservation Commission, and I'm happy to throw it to you, Marianne or Penny, with regards to that.
Right, so we're, so because of the change in the parking lot, the reduction in size, it's not the exact same plan that we submitted in our NOI, so we have to go back and show them that. So with Penny's help, well, Penny did everything and then I just emailed it. We emailed them a letter letting them know that there's a slight change and that we want to show it to them. So so this is on the Conservation Commission's agenda for this Thursday night at 8 p.m. And Dominic, you'll send me this plan and maybe show and depict on it how it's different from the other plan. So I'll go to that meeting because Penny will be away and Elaine will be away. And then it's the standard procedure is that then they schedule a hearing for this. So it's likely that there'll be another hearing to review this change in 2 weeks at their next meeting.
And you won't be here for that one, is that correct?
Right, I won't be here for that
Okay.
one. You and Penny
I'll-
will be here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if I am in a place where I can zoom in, I will zoom in because that's what I do. But it's I'm gonna be someplace where that's harder. I think. And then there'll need to be a legal notice and a butters notices sent out, and I'll do all of that Friday. So we'll just, we'll just make sure that this all keeps moving, but it's not, the stormwater engineer has already confirmed that it doesn't have any implications for the stormwater management system. And it really is such a small change, and it's less
Impervious.
impervious, right? It's less impervious surface. So, so it's less of that kind of surface that's impacting buffer zone.
So it's positive.
Right, it is a positive. It's positive all around. And there's still a curb on that side. It's just not a retaining wall. It's just a Cape Cod berm curb all along that side. So all along that edge. So I feel fine about going to conservation on Thursday.
Do you want anybody else there? Jeff, could you make that? Okay, great.
Mm,
I
okay.
see your head nodding. Good.
Okay.
At least have one other member of the
Yeah,
committee
yes,
there. Yeah.
yeah, okay. And so that's conservation. Um,
Okay.
oh, I have a question about the schedule, Dominic. So this Friday, you're sending out to the cost estimators the 75%. And then when do you expect to get that back?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and so then next,
Then
okay,
we're hoping, I think what we would do is share it with the committee as quick as we can,
mm,
with the caveat that we're still reviewing, so that we
right,
have kind of
right,
a order of
okay,
magnitude that
yes,
we're all understanding.
okay,
There's always discrepancies with these things, and it
mm,
always requires a meeting to consolidate and to really review and make sure that all the scope was
right,
accounted for correctly. And
So,
we need our consultants to help with that too. So we're going to try and fast track that into, less than a week, if we'll see what we can do, and then come to you with the real number.
okay.
April 2nd, you think would be?
Yes,
Mhm.
let me get,
Because 2 weeks, well, no, wait, 2 weeks is
2
the
weeks,
29th. 2 weeks is the 29th, and so the second would be the next Tuesday, the following Tuesday.
But that only gives you a couple of days. You need a week to digest it with your team, Dominic. Is that what you said?
yeah, thereabouts. So, I mean, I would like to share you something in the week of April the 1st,
Okay,
just to give you an order of magnitude, and then come back to you on the 9th, or depending on when we have our committee meeting.
Yeah, well, if you can share it the first week of April,
Yeah,
what,
then we would have 2 weeks to roll in any changes to meet the
right?
19th.
So would you
Yeah.
want to meet on like I know the 2nd is the Tuesday, but you're saying that that's not enough time for you to,
Not to have a realistic number for that.
okay,
That we can, a hard number.
Yeah.
Let me say
Yeah.
that.
so what day do you think you would?
Whenever the following week.
the
So,
9th, so Tuesday the 9th?
yes, that's right.
Okay,
And then
So
you would, and then we're gonna go out for 100% on the 19th?
Correct.
Okay, so our meeting, we'll at least have a meeting on the 9th. I don't know if we're gonna need a meeting in between, but let's
Yeah.
get the library building committee scheduled for the 9th.
Yeah.
okay,
And you'll be back then, Marion?
yes, yeah, I
Okay.
get back the 3rd,
Okay,
yeah.
I have a library program that evening, so won't be able to come if it's in the evening.
okay. What time is your program?
6,
Mm,
6:30.
Could we do it the 8th on Monday?
I'll pull the committee and see if the 8th, would that work for you, Dominic?
It would, yeah.
Neil, would that work for you? And Roger?
So I will also be out of town that day.
So talk about the 9th you're asking for?
8th now.
The 8th.
Well, the 8th?
Mm-hmm. Could you
Did
be
you just say
available?
you can't do the 8th, Molly?
Yeah, I can't do the 8th. I'm going out of town for the eclipse.
Oh,
Oh,
so,
me too, I'm sorry, and I'm not back
Either,
until the evening of the 9th.
oh gosh.
I'm fine, either one of them. That's,
I think I want to do the 9th. I want to continue with the 9th because let's see if enough of the committee members can meet. Because if you're going out on the 19th, we really need to get this moving. Because that only gives you a week and a half if we do it on the 9th. Unless people can do it on the 10th. What is the,
That's Library Giving Day.
That's fine, Library Giving Day is fine. haven't,
We can have other volunteers doing Library Giving Day.
Isn't that the third?
not in Shutesbury.
Ah, because you're special.
Yes.
So can we meet on the 10th?
Yes.
I can.
Dominic, can you meet on the 10th?
I can.
At 7?
Yes.
Okay, and how about Neil and Roger?
I'm fine with the 10th.
Elaine, Elaine, I'm driving. I'll have to check my schedule when I get back, but I'll let
Okay.
you know.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's tentatively say the 10th.
And I don't remember what we decided for design subcommittee meetings. Do you
So
remember?
I need to interrupt for a minute. I need to sign off. Do you want to quickly talk about the well and vote since we have a small group here tonight?
Yes. Yes.
So, all right. So Penny and I have been working with, and I'm sorry about the barking dog in the background. Penny and I have been working with the well engineer, the well driller, who is Cushing and Sons, and Steve Sullivan, our highway superintendent. And to chart out a path to the well location, and be prepared, so, you know, so the highway department has to put down some gravel to for the very heavy well rig to get out to the well location. And the gravel is going to cost up to $4,000, which, you know, which we have to pay for, because the, you know, the highway department doesn't have that in their budget. And I think, we should probably put in so can we should also be prepared to buy some, straw wattles, which are erosion control, doohickeys. And so those are $25 for 12 feet. And he needs quite a bit of that. So I would like to make a proposal that we approve spending up to $4,500 for gravel and erosion control, straw wattles.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion that we spend $4,500 on preparations for the grounds to prepare for the well installation, which includes gravel and straw wattles. Do
I'll
I
second.
hear? That was Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, roll call vote.
Antonellis, aye.
Penny,
Jake's eye.
Moss
Molly,
eye.
Quackenbush, aye.
and Paleo, aye. Penny, I think that's the end of our need for votes. So if you want to complete this.
Okay, I'm going to quickly save the notes that I've taken so far. If anything else significant happens, Elaine, can you mail me the details?
I can.
Okay, I'm going to sign off. Thank you.
All right. Have a good trip.
You too.
All right. So let's see, going back to
We were on the schedule.
the what?
The schedule. So we have decided that we're gonna meet on the 10th at 7
Oh,
PM.
yes.
Right? And
Yeah.
then I just didn't remember what the design subcommittee had,
Hold on, I
decided
can
to
tell
do.
you.
Oh, good.
I think we set up something for next week.
Oh, we might have. Yeah.
Let's see. Next meeting date is 3/20.
Okay. I just wasn't looking at the right place on my calendar. Okay. All
Yep.
right.
Was
Okay.
it a reason for that meeting?
Do you need that meeting, Dominic?
I do not need it for next week. I was thinking, Jeff, of a page turn potentially, but which might be helpful. I think the only outstanding meeting that I owe you and would like to have in person is a finishes meeting, interior finishes, where I come to you with final samples and we can just make some selections. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean that we get final choices, but it gets a scope so that we understand, where we are for the bids. But I'm not going to be ready for that for next week. So
Yeah, and let's not do that next week because Elaine and Penny are out of town.
yeah,
And let's do that with the whole building committee.
yeah, that as well. But I
Yeah.
wonder if
Yeah.
it might be helpful as a sub-design
Mhm.
meeting to vet some choices. But so for next week, then, Jeff, potentially a page turn. But I don't know if that's enough time for the committee to review the documents. I'm only getting drawings from consultants end of business on the 15th, this Friday. So I'm not going to have it into your hands until that weekend, either late Friday or Saturday. So that would mean however many days of review when we meet again to do a page turn. I feel like you should review the documents as much as, when I present a page turn, so that you have time to digest and have questions. But if you feel like that's reasonable, then I'm happy to schedule one.
How many days do we have to prep for the page turn? Is this
Business days, it depends on, yeah,
gonna be a big set of specs?
it will be, yeah,
It'll take days to get through this.
right.
Is Stephen gonna be back?
Let me check.
I think a page turn the following week is still getting me the information, your kind of responses in time to meet the 100%.
And that would be just with the subcommittee, correct?
True. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can, on the 20th, I can only go till 2:00 because I gotta head to the Boston airport after that.
How about the 27th? Will you be available then?
Yeah.
So why don't you, but Mary Ann won't be there.
Right. I think Stephen is back next week, but you don't think there's time. What about Friday next week?
The 22nd.
Yeah. Does that work? Oh, but you're going to the airport, Jeff? Are you gonna be away on the 22nd?
No. My boss is coming back. I have to go pick her up.
Your boss. We know you're retired.
Green bean, yes.
I know who his boss is.
We all do.
She's been in New Zealand for 3 weeks, so
Nice,
visiting my daughter.
nice.
Does the 22nd work for you,
Well,
Dom?
but
It does, yeah.
will that work for you, Dominic?
It
That
will,
works?
yeah. I
Okay.
would have a hard stop at 3 that day, but depending on when you schedule it, if 12 to 3, I think is ample. I hope it's not 3 hours. Understanding it is a lot of documents, but 2 hours maybe.
And
Let's
Mary Ann,
plan that. Does
you'll
that
have
work
to
for you,
change that.
Heather and Andrea?
So Friday, the 22nd at noon,
Yes,
I am currently available at that time.
I'll be in Madeira. So
I can represent on our behalf.
okay,
Okay. All right, sounds like a plan. Okay.
great, and you'll let Stephen know. Okay, great,
Mary Ann, or Elaine, can I make one request?
yes,
Dominic, when you send the 75% documents to the cost estimator, can you send me a link so I can get it into the commissioning agent's hands for his review and comment?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's it.
Great, thank you. All right, so do you have a timing for the well, Marianne? You're muted.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep myself muted because of,
Yeah.
of the puppy. So, so the well will, so there's a 10-day appeal period. After the NOI is permitted, that appeal period expires at the end of business tomorrow. If, you know, people have until then to file an appeal. We haven't seen an appeal yet. So no work can start on the site until the end of business tomorrow. Assuming we don't get an appeal, Steve Sullivan, our highway superintendent, will put up a DEP file number sign on the site and start to install the erosion control. And then I will bring the order of conditions to the Registry of Deeds in Greenfield and file it. That's a requirement. So that'll all start to, I'll do that on Wednesday. The file number will go up on Wednesday and Steve will put in the erosion controls. And then the Conservation Commission has 48 hours to come to inspect the erosion controls. And then after that, Steve can start doing the site prep. And then the well is currently scheduled to be drilled the week of March 18th. So sometime next week. And then the well will go in, and then the following week, they'll do the pump test. So,
Okay,
and
so,
then,
but do we have to worry about the new NOI?
no, because this, all
an
this work will
amendment.
be, it's
Okay.
an amendment to the
Yeah.
NOI. Thank you, Dominic. I forgot the word amendment earlier. And all of this will actually be done, and none of this has anything to do with that slight parking lot reduction. Let me just tell you for the records, I wrote down the amount of the contract with the well driller. So the contract is a total of $14,490. It includes $10,130 for drilling and then $4,360 for the pump test. And then this committee approved up to $16,000 for all of these things. And then there's a unit price for things like casing and drilling if it goes beyond 350 feet. And then I believe in that same vote, you authorized me to just make those decisions as needed based on this contract. So I'll be on site during the well drilling. And then for the pump test, it's likely that it's possible that the pump test will happen after I leave, and then Penny will be back. So between the two of us, we'll be on site for the well drilling and the pump test.
Great. Thank you.
I have a quick question, Marianne. If you could notify me as soon as you have those dates locked in, I'll just notify my engineers and they'll be on standby. Matt is saying I'm sure you're in touch with, so I know he'll be there or available, and I want my plumbing engineer to be on call.
Yeah.
And he said he would be, so.
Right. There's one other thing. So there's a DEP Public Water Supply Department, and they've been out to review the plan and to review the site. And then we're waiting. They're going to send us a permission to drill letter. And I expect that any day now. So I've met, Penny and I met with the well driller. Penny and I met with Matt Cassane from Fuss and O'Neill and the representative from DEP. And so we've done a lot of coordinating to make sure that we are attending to all of the details. And Penny brought me a typed written list of all the things I have to do while she's away. So don't worry, she's on it. So,
Perfect.
yes, and then I will,
Melanie.
Dominic, I'll let you know, and then Neil, I'll let you know in case you want to send Roger. Okay,
And then just one more thing, Mary Ann, I just want to make sure that you have been authorized, or Penny, or both have been authorized by the committee to make the call to either drill deeper or add more casing or whatnot, if the well driller needs that direction in the field.
so I don't have those minutes in front of me. Does somebody just want to make a motion that the person, either Marion or Penny, whoever's on site when the well is being dug,
There's
that,
only 4 of us here. Okay, yeah.
oh, there's only 4 of us here. I'm pretty sure we did that at the.
I'm pretty sure we did,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, yes, okay,
Because
so-
we gave you permission to go farther than the 16.
right,
And that was for that specific purpose.
okay, all right, I'm pretty sure, I'll go back and look at the minutes, but, that's my recollection,
That was my
Yeah.
understanding of it.
yes,
That was why we
okay,
did that.
right, yes, yeah, okay. Good,
Okay. Is that all with the well?
yep,
Okay. Are there any other liaison and subcommittee reports? Mary Ann and I have been meeting with Senator Markey's representatives in office, and we're looking to request an earmark when it comes through to complete whatever parts of this project we might not be able to complete. And one of the things that I know Senator Markey is very interested in is green energy, and we're going to request help with putting up our solar panels from him. And his office was very positive about it, because they said, when I told them that we wanted somewhere between $100,000 and $200,000, they thought that was such a nice small number that they could do that pretty quickly. And it would be a real big win for them. And so I said, great. So that has not come out yet. But as soon as it does, we will be applying for it through his office, through Senator Warren's office, and through Jim McGovern's office. But they're helping shepherd it through for us. Anything else? All right, I do not see any other unanticipated business. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn, and I'm pretty sure my dog is also making a motion.
I'll second that motion. Roll call vote?
Antonellis, aye.
Moss, I.
Quackenbush, aye.
Paleo, aye. Thank you all, and good night.
Good night.
Thanks,
Good night.
Have a
everybody.
great night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.